It is 6:30. I'll call the meeting to order. First article would be the agenda additions and deletions. I'm informed that we have nothing changed on the agenda. The Selectboard meeting minutes from March 7th, 2022. Do I have a motion and a second to discuss?
I make a motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anything that we should change on here? Questions? Anything that needs to be changed? Hearing none, I'll move the question. All in favor of accepting the minutes? Yeah, aye.
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 Any opposed? The pay orders for March 22. Do I have a motion, a second to discuss the orders?
I make a motion to discuss the pay orders on March 22nd, 2022 for $43,318.24.
And a second.
Second.
Anything needs to be changed, updated, looked at, or questioned? Hearing none, I'll move the question. It is currently $43,318.24. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? So ordered. Normally this time we do the honorable mention. Sandy's indicated that several citizens volunteer once a month to fold, label, and prepare the newsletter. I would just note Julie is the editor. It is the Wallingford Standard, and we would thank them for their attentiveness to that.
I'm not sure if this is the time to add it, but the block fell into the lake today at 1:35 p.m. on March 21st, so it's been duly noted, and I guess the setup worked really, really well. So,
Excellent.
and we already have, I forget the name of the winner, but the winner has been selected, was off just by a few minutes, and is going to be notified that they won the raffle.
Good deal. The Wallingford Stormwater design, the gentleman, Andreas Torres here, hasn't called in yet. We're expecting a call momentarily. I assume, Erica, that's probably you're here on the permits also. Is there anybody else here on that permit? Okay. You said he'd be about quarter of.
I sent him the agenda at 6:40, so he should be calling in.
Okay, why don't we at the same time go ahead and ask for public comments till he calls in. Is anybody here that have a comment or anything under that? Hearing none, we'll mark number 6. Phil, we might as well start with you on the road commissioner's report.
There's a whole lot to tell. We had one issue with the little truck this past week. That's going to get over and get fixed.
It's going to be one of them nights.
So what's going to happen on it is they're actually working on the other truck. They did get parts in for the 14 Cannabis. So they are working on it. He didn't want to take another truck over from us to repair on them, to have 2 over there in the yard. So he wants to finish the 14 up first before he brings in the little truck. It has an air shifter problem, and it's in the is probably just an O-ring in the transmission on those, picks up the high range on it. It's a common thing they do. They just dry up and don't fall out. They have to be replaced, but anyways. But the 14 Kenworth is being worked on. He said, what, Steve, another week or so, week and a half before that would be ready if all the parts and everything came in like they were supposed to. They started trickling in, so he started pulling it apart and stuff. Other than that, I think you hauled sand today, didn't you? Yep. Hauled sand today. Prepared to roll up on.
Hello.
Hey, good evening. This is Andres Teresa of Watershed Consulting.
Okay, good evening, Andres Nelson. Erica is here on the permits.
Great.
We'll get right back to you in a few minutes, Phil.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just standing by. Is there, what would the board like at this point in time? And hear from me, or am I just waiting here?
Probably hear from you first. I would assume that you wanted him to go ahead of you, Erica.
Sure.
Yeah, Erica's in agreement with that.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure how much of this would be review, but I could just quickly summarize kind of where we're at and what we've done, and kind of what the end of the grant is looking like here at the end of this month. So would that be helpful?
It probably would be. What I've got here in my notes, it looks like it's going to be a period of time that they're going to have to be public hearings and everything else. How does that affect the end of the month being a deadline here?
Well, I talked with Nancy a little bit about that, because these grants are they're a little unique in that previous grants we've all worked on don't need to have all the permits actually issued, but this one does. But Nancy doesn't seem to think it's going to be a problem as long as we make it clear in terms of what is left to do after the end of the month. So, you know, if there's a hearing that needs to happen, obviously that's not going to happen before the end of the month. I mean, I think we'll just have to let the grant agency know what when it's going to be and what we're going to do, and that's, that will be that. So, I think from my standpoint, I guess, we're wrapping up the design and the kind of the final package that we were going to provide to Nancy as our final deliverable to her, and that includes the site plan, the details, a bid document, and a cost estimate. And then, one of the deliverables is permit applications. And so the permits, that have been identified for this project include the VTrans 1111 access permit, and then any other permits that the town requires. So those are the only two permits, the town may have multiple, but the town and VTrans are the only two entities that require permits. The state DEC, we have sign-offs from, the river folks, the river management folks, the floodplain folks, the wetlands folks. So we're all squared away with those permits. So I think, from a permitting standpoint, I have, if we just talk maybe about the VTrans permit first, so that is, anytime you work within the right-of-way, you need to get an access permit. And we have a catch basin right in front of the school parking lot that's within their right-of-way. So we've been in communication with the VTrans folks throughout this whole process. And so they're going to be expecting an application from us on this. And so the application is pretty simple, but we basically just need to verify an applicant, and we need somebody to pay the $100 application fee, because that's not within our scope, and I don't think it was within Nancy's either. So, on past projects like this, it would be that the town would actually sign the permit. We just did this. We actually just had a similar situation in Moortown where we did a project for the school, but there was a connection to the road, so the town was kind of a partner, kind of in the same capacity that you guys are, and the town just signed the 1111 permit for that. So that was kind of what I was thinking, to see if the town would consider doing that, and then, so that's the 1111 permit, and then I guess I just need some clarity on the process for the town permits at this point.
Okay, so I'm assuming that actually the only thing the select board is going to make a decision on is whether or not we will pay the $100 fine or fee and sign off on it. Is the board willing to do that? I realize that a couple of you probably haven't been too much aware of this project until we had the diagram here a week or 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
We did originally okay for them to go ahead with the project of the planning part.
Right.
Right.
I'm not quite sure what's going to ensue after the permitting, but I'm assuming that having signed off on it, that we're willing to accept the $100 fee and to sign off the permit request.
Right.
Okay.
Is that agreeable with everybody on the board?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good with that. We'll sign off.
Great.
And Julie, I assume that you'll do whatever you need to do on a permit fee? All right, I guess we're in agreement on that, sir.
Okay. So just so I'm clear, so then would the town also agree to be the applicant on that? Can I forward the application to the town and have somebody sign it on behalf of the town and send it in with the $100?
We're in agreement to sign it also, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we are.
Okay, great. So that take that off the list. That's easy. I can send that to Erica. Would that make sense if I just send that? I'll fill it out and send it to Erica, and then I can give you directions on how to submit it, Erica. Does that work?
Yes, but I'm not going to be in town until next Tuesday. So, we're leaving on Thursday this week. We'll be back on Monday. It'll be Tuesday before I'm back in the office.
It would be next Tuesday before she's in the office.
Okay. I can get it to her before next Tuesday so that it's there when she comes in.
Okay.
Okay, Erica, is there anything you wanted to explain to him about the town permits?
The town permit, as far as I can tell, is just going to be a regular construction permit. And I really can't say anything more about it until I actually see the plans, if it's going to affect any of the adjoining properties around it. If it does, then we may have to go to the Development Review Board for a variance. If it doesn't, it's a straight construction permit.
Were you able to hear that all?
I might need you to paraphrase it for me. I couldn't catch all that.
Do you want to try it again a little bit with him?
Yeah, Andre, you can send me an email and I'll explain everything if you want.
Send you an email, you said, Erica?
Yeah.
Okay.
But basically for the town's information, you do know that the Wallingford Elementary School property is owned by the Mill River. So I have to treat it just like a business, just like somebody's property. It's not really considered part of the town, so they have to go through the permitting process just like anybody else.
Okay. So who would be the applicant on the town permit?
In this case, this is one of the strange things. Since the town has agreed, it would be both. The owner of the property and then the applicant. So both names would have to be on the permit. I'm not saying it won't be renewed or approved. I'm not saying that one way or the other. But for legality's sake, both names would have to be on the permit and it would have to be issued. So that's not a problem. It can be done. I have checked with the Regional Planning Commission and a few other resources, and we do have that jurisdiction.
Okay. So did I catch, because it's a little hard to hear you, but I think you said that the town could be, but would they be a co-applicant with the school district?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay. Whoever is on the application for the grant should be on the application for the construction permit.
Well, okay, let me think about this. So the application for the grant, I mean,
Well, in this case, I meant the V-Trans permit, I'm sorry. If we're both on the V-Trans permit, then to keep things smooth, we should both be on the construction permit.
Okay. Okay.
Are both entities on that, the original grant permit, or the original grant?
Well, I mean, Nancy, the grant was through the Rutland Natural Resources Conservation District. I mean, the school and both, the town gave, the letter of approval, but I don't think that they were specifically listed as a grantee or anything like that. It was the Rutland Natural Resources Conservation District. I mean, I think it makes sense to have co-applicants if that works for the town. I mean, we could, on both of these, I could just list the school and the town and just have both of you sign it. And maybe that's the best way for both of them.
She's nodding agreement.
And
Okay.
would that be the school or would that be the superintendent?
That would be the Mill River District, whoever signs for them.
Okay.
Gary, I could fill these out. I could send them both to Gary, and then I'll ask him to send them back to me, and then I'll send them to you, and then you can sign them and send them in.
That's fine. Or if you send them to Gary and Gary gets in touch with me, we can arrange to meet on Tuesday and sign off on everything together. And then that way it's not floating around in the Ethernet.
Yeah, that's okay. That makes sense. Why don't we do that?
Okay.
That's good. Okay. All right. So, great. What else? Let's see. What else do we have to talk about here? I think those were the biggest things on my agenda. Just getting that ironed out so I understood it. But is there anything else that the town has a question on or would like to discuss with me, or?
Do you have a copy of
I
the
think we're
design, Erica?
There is no copy yet.
You don't have a copy of the design? So it sounds like he needs to get one of those to you.
Whatever he gets to Mill River, he has to get to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a minute here. We're good then?
And Erica, one other question. I'm just looking at the town application. So I'm looking at the town of Wallingford general zoning permit application.
That's the one.
That's the one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so under the applicant section, I'm going to put Mill River School District and Town of Wallingford, and then, the two addresses, the two emails.
Actually, there's a section that says the applicant, there's another section that says, I believe, property owner, to make it really, yeah.
Right.
So, Mill River Unified School District is the property owner, we're the applicant.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. So does the property, I'm just looking to see if the property owner actually needs to sign this, legal owner or agent signature.
Correct.
Yeah. So they do, okay. Okay. All right, well, I think this sounds good. I'll communicate this to Nancy and get these two things in motion, and then I think we'll be in good shape, hopefully for the grant. And then I guess we'll just need to, when would these hearings occur? In April?
Well, once I see your final site plans, I will talk to the chair of the Development Review Board and see if he feels that we need a hearing, and if he does, then I'll let you know. If he says no, then I can just put it through the normal processes.
Okay.
I think we're all set now then.
Okay.
You're good?
Okay.
Yes, we are. Thank you, Andreas.
Yeah, appreciate it. See ya.
Okay, back to Phil.
So, the 014 should be done with it in a week or so, and have that back. And we'll switch out the little truck over there and have the little repair done on that. Hauled sand, other than that, I don't think we did we fixed Sugar Hill Road today, you said? Yeah. That was,
I did see Charlie heading up through towards, he went by East Street, and they had the truck right behind him there.
yeah.
Did they go up to do a road up there, or
Sugar Hill, yeah.
the trail? What was it, mud, or
Yeah, yeah.
have they been able to do any more hauling? I know we were using your truck, but that was sitting in the garage when I was down there. Are you done hauling, or are they gonna be right back to hauling?
They're not open tomorrow. Pike's closed till 4th.
Okay.
I don't think they're gonna be open again, so,
Then they'll be up to Sugar Hill again tomorrow?
yeah.
Okay.
Is that the only road that needs,
That's the major road that needs
okay,
work done to it, but most of it, it was just one big spot that really softened up really quick.
yeah,
And then, you know, it's a typical pothole thing, you know, so we're right up there, might as well just keep right on going at it.
yeah, yeah.
I did notice right around Lee Holton's up there, their number of, out through there, so.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really the only plus spot that I saw that was really, really needed it. But
It come out quick up there on this end of Sugar Hill. I mean, it warmed up so much that it just started boiling right out of the ground, so.
Yeah.
And dugout roads doing okay?
Yep.
Good.
That's a lot slower. It's-
Okay,
it's more-
just because it's in that valley and it kind of,
It
yeah.
closed in so much that it takes quite a while for the frost to come out of that place.
I think Sandy put in the paving grant too, I think, didn't you? We got some information on that?
Yeah, we need to work on it this week. Let's do like I want to do it before you come out. And
Okay, yeah. I don't know if you've got anything else other than the grader issue. Nope. I guess the grader issue is the next thing, if that's on the agenda.
we've got that on next item.
Okay. I did a little research, found that one of them had figured in a snowplow for the front of the grader, which I had him redo a new estimate today. Found that last night. And I had one that he didn't verbally or write in a wing until today. And I got an email saying that the plow, a wing was involved, or bid out with the John Deere's. It doesn't say that in the estimates, but he's sent me an email saying there was a wing bid in that. So I have that in my emails. That
Do you
I
have-
sent to Sandy's.
Do we have a cost on that yet?
The cost of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the graders, they do have the cost of them.
Yeah, that,
Is the
the
plowing
spreadsheet should have.
this
that.
one?
Yeah.
John Deere bid two different machines. One's a little, the 672 is a little heavier. Not a whole lot more horsepower, basically the same frame machine, I think, as much as I can tell. That one was at $297 after trade. Their 622 came in at $282, which is pretty near equivalent to all the rest, horsepower-wise, weight-wise, blade-wise. There's so many little things that, like headlight variables and stuff like that. But basic machines, John Deere, Cat, and Case are all the same weight. They're all basically within the like 20 horsepower of each other. John Deere was, like I said, the smaller of the two machines was 282. Case came in, they were the ones that put the plow on the front, and I had them delete it because we didn't bid that with anything else. It was 278.9 is what they came in at, and Cat came in at 266.5. Cat is what I can tell has a better warranty. It's 7 years, 2,500 hours, over John Deere's 5 years, 2,500 hours. Case does it a little different. They have a 3-year full service unlimited plan on oils and changes and stuff like that. 2,000 hours is the limit, but it's 3 years. Full service, they send the filters and stuff down if we need to do it. My thought is the gentleman that's gonna sit in the machine ought to have say in what machine is bought, which he would like, and let the board make a decision from there. I think Steve can tell you which one is what he would like, so I'm gonna let him talk a little bit about it.
Phil, before Steve jumps in, for that service plan, they would just be sending us the materials, or we would be sending the actual grader to them to work on?
No, they would come down and do it.
So they would come down, so that would include,
Does it for,
so that would include their service fee for their time and everything else?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm not sure how big a gain that is over the 7-year, 2,500 hour one.
Yeah, no, the 7 years sounds nice. Especially if you talked about, we want to have an idea of these things being on a 7-year rotation. That feels like right in there.
They're all basically the same horsepower and all that stuff, all basically are the same thing except their prices are different and their base, you know, if you're used to running one machine compared to another, there is a variable there. That's why I thought I'd let Steve talk about it a little bit, because, you know, we basically have Cat in the shop right now. They're all good machines, but it's something that I think the man that's gonna sit in it will probably retire in it. Ooh, did I say that out loud? That hurt. Should have some speak in it.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. The only machine that I really care about is a Cat. Because we got our backhoe down there, which is a 2011. And they bought that brand new. And I just put new batteries in it this year. That's the only thing I've done to it next to services. You know, maybe a hydraulic hose here and there. It gets damaged or something like that. But other than that, that's all we've done to that machine since 2011.
Since 2011, so that's 11 years.
Yep. And if you're gonna get the same, I don't see it. I don't see it, because you got a 7-year warranty on a Cat.
And that 2,500 hours is, we're going to be at that at 7 years, you think, versus at 5?
I don't know. I don't know how many roughly hours. I would think
Because that would be like, if we're going to do 2,500 hours in 3 years, we're,
400.
Because you got about 10,000 hours that's on the 850 that's down there now.
okay.
But that's 20,
That's a,
20, it's a 99, isn't it?
if you got me there.
I think it's a 99.
Yeah.
Or no more. It's no more. What is it?
2,000?
2,000.
2,000, so it's,
Yeah.
so it's 21 years.
Okay.
So that's less, that's just about
Yeah.
500.
So then that makes a sense to push it towards 7 years, because then we're actually going to get something out of it versus if it's just at 2,500.
And the big thing is you gotta worry about is the major stuff
Yeah.
nowadays. You know, that's kind of what I look to is, you never know what's gonna happen with this equipment. You know, it's, I hate to say it, but a lot of things are built throwaway.
Or not serviceable.
Yeah. And, you never know what's gonna happen, just like 2014, little plastic plug come out of the fuel filter and took the whole fuel system out. And on top of that, before that happened, the fuel gauge stuck in the tank, so it kept reading it had 3/4 of a tank of fuel. And that's why we never realized what was going on until they were doing it. And you wonder why they build stuff like this.
Yeah.
You know, the warranty is very important, yeah, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
It seems to me it would make sense to stay with cat when we've got cat,
Yes.
all cat right now.
Especially when it's the cheapest. It's got
Yeah.
that going for it too,
I mean-
which is nice. Sandy looks very happy about that.
It really seems like a win-win with the cat. I mean, it's the lowest price, it has the best warranty. We have had cats before with excellent service records. It just seems to all be pointing towards cat.
And I know where they live.
I wasn't considering that, but you're right, that is an added bonus.
Anything else you'd like to say about any one of the three?
No, I'm not gonna single out any one of them. I think, like I said, the man that's gonna sit in it should be the one that makes the judgment on that call to the board. I can explain it to you, but I can't.
Kathy, you seem to be in favor of the cat.
Yes,
I must say that's the one I've been looking at right along, is the cat.
yeah.
That's
The cat.
always looked the most,
Yeah.
I think we're in agreement on the cat. I think probably the next thing, and probably why Julie's here, is on the financing. I know you've got 3 different, well, actually 4 different ways of doing the financing. Your thoughts on that?
I think it was 18 months, I think Sandy asked me to get that. Are you planning to use the money that's
Revenue
the
augmentation.
revenue, the augmentation money next December towards this, or are you just gonna take a loan on it and pay it off over whatever term you pick?
What's everybody's feeling about financing? Take a loan, or? I think we can't touch any of that money
Right.
till December 23.
Right.
I actually don't know if CAT needs a down payment before we order.
I heard him right, no. We just need it being signed.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna say a year out probably for the machine. So that's with good luck. If it comes in quicker, well, you're even luckier, but he said a year plus. They're all about the same. So,
Kenworths were the same way, and we ordered those trucks, it was a year out.
And then doing through Community Bank, it's if those two, in the twos and everything else like that. And then through CAT, did they have their own finance, or we wouldn't do that?
yes, the CAT has a financing. I think, well, Nelson looked at it, there wasn't
Wonderful?
no.
Pretty expensive.
Yeah.
It's like $20,000 a year interest, so.
Okay.
Is that through cat?
On that program, they had one payment was 5,000 a year, and the other was 4,700
Okay.
a year. That figures out to about 17 or 18%.
Going, wow.
And you're looking at the bank is about 2 or 3.
Oh, let's go with the
Yeah,
bank.
no, yeah. Especially if we can lock that in soon, because I think rates might be going up soon.
Could be too.
Yeah.
Now, is there, if we get the loan, can we pay the loan off early? When we do finally get that augmentation money, if we decide that we're gonna use it?
I would assume that we could.
That's what this says. Look at this one.
In the back of my
Okay.
mind, what I was thinking, if we take the 7-year, that would put us potentially into a 7-year cycle, which is
Right.
what the road crew and myself have actually looked at for equipment maintenance for the trucks and this.
Yeah.
Obviously, we wouldn't let the grader go in 7 years, but the second 7 years, 14 years, might well be in the type of trading. And definitely by the third 7-year period, it would be 21 again and be basically on the same cycle.
Same thing.
It's the idea that at the end of the 7 years, we have it paid off and we
We'd
can
have
make the
it paid
decision if
off
we
in
need
the
to.
next four-
Yeah.
7 to 14 would be all to the good.
Right.
Okay.
But then also be in that sweet spot where it actually might have a better, like, because we're only getting the 25 or 30, I think, in this one, right? Or they're giving us, 25. So hopefully at end of 7 years versus end at 20.
21.
Yeah.
There would be a
it'll hopefully
difference
be a
in the
little better.
trade-in, yes.
Yeah.
I think too that what Kathy brought up, down the road when that money does come through in '23, that would obviously be good to finance the salt shed if we had the loan on this at a fixed rate. We probably wouldn't have to take a loan on the salt shed. We'd probably be able to pay that off. And I'm sure by then the interest rates are going to be quite a bit higher on anything that we would have to borrow on that.
Right.
Yeah.
How would that work with you if we went with that 7-year with community?
We'll make a decision till next year anyway.
Exactly.
So when you have to buy it, so we'll have to see where rates are then. They won't let you lock it in.
Oh, so they won't, even if we make a decision saying we're signing, we're going to be getting this and order it for a year, because then, would that be that we're,
It's gonna take a year to build, minimum, is what he's telling me.
okay, so then we're, okay, I thought we were doing this more imminently, where we're putting it down, they're going to start building it, we're going to get it maybe this time in '23.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
But they won't give us the rates that we're going for now.
No, I don't think they'll, even the bid, I think is they're gonna add to it. Because I know Case already redid theirs. The price had already changed. And I'm sure if we don't lock in within the next couple of weeks, the price of the machine is gonna go up.
But if we-
Everything is going up there. They don't even hold them for 30 days, I think, now.
If we sign and lock in now, we get this price, correct?
Correct.
The price, but then we don't necessarily get the interest rate. That's the big question,
Gotcha.
whether or not we're going to be able to keep that 2.6 for the 7-year.
Gotcha, because we're not gonna deal with the bank until we actually pay for the truck, which won't be until it's built.
I'm guessing
Correct.
so, right?
Yeah, you won't need a loan on it till we receive that.
Okay.
Okay.
At that point, you'll have to figure the financing out.
They won't let you prepay it?
Yeah, well, well, I'm sure.
We can't give money to somebody and have nothing in return.
300 grand in their lap, say, here, just build me a machine. It's just, yeah, it's just one of those things you're gonna have to wait till it
Right.
comes in, whether it's 12 months, 10 months, or 18.
Well, there's no sense in borrowing money to sit for a year.
Well, yeah.
and pay an interest. So,
Right. Yeah,
So does somebody will make a motion to go with the CAT and to lock in with a 7-year?
I'll make a motion for 7-year and the cat.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And we'll have Julie go ahead with the, I guess we need a motion for that too, for Julie to lock in for the community.
do we need a motion on that?
Well, because they can't do it
Oh,
until,
we're not going for the loan yet.
Okay, good. So are we all good with the grader and all your stuff?
I'm good. I'm good, Steve. Yeah.
Summer rec program.
Oh, wait, sorry, Nelson, what about the sidewalks? Are we gonna talk about that before? Because that was part with the salt shed.
Agenda.
You're here for the rec program?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
We've got it indicated here that you're gonna have 4 weeks this year.
Yes, we're going back to 4 weeks. Last year, we dropped a week because we weren't really sure with COVID if we were even going to be able to do it. So we dropped it down to 3 weeks last year. We're going back up to 4. I was a little concerned about the budgeted salaries of 8,200, but I did a little preliminary figuring, and both Laurie and Deb, who is Larry's the co-director, and Deb is our counselor. And with both of those girls getting 40 hours a week, I'm just going to plug in this year. I'm doing like all of the preliminary planning and kind of behind scenes stuff, and then I will fill in some of the hours that they can't be there. And then I was thinking that it might be possible that we might need some other staff. And we have about, with the preliminary figures I did, we'd have about $300 left in the budget to maybe do some fill-ins. So I'm thinking, Sandy, maybe like the concession workers and the lifeguards at the lake might want to pick up a few extra hours, kind of like the way we did it last year. So I think we'll just plug in that way and just see what we need to have. I know right now Deb does have some time that she needs to be off in the mornings, and I can fill in some of that time, but if those kids want some extra hours, you and I can work that out and figure out what would work for them for hours. So I think we'll be good with that. The other thing that I would really like to do, we've talked about this before, is I would like to start a training or a junior counselor program, counselors in training. I feel like we have so many kids who age out of our program, but they're really not ready to be home alone all day, or their parents don't want them to be home alone all day. They still would love to come and hang out at the lake. So being counselors in training or junior counselors, they'd be able to come, hang out with the kids. You do it so that, you're not paying them, but they're not having to pay to come to the camp. And I also feel like it'd be a great way to sort of recruit kids and maybe get them to the point where they want to become lifeguards, and they want to become counselors, and they want to become concession workers, so that we're sort of like grooming these kids to, maybe decide to take over some of those roles as they get older. I know we have such a hard time finding lifeguards. I think if kids got kind of, became a part of the program early, they might really decide that that's something that they would like to do. So I'd like to see if I can find out a little bit more information about that, if the board is willing to entertain the idea, and get back to you in a couple weeks. I think Carolyn probably has some good information about that.
Have some experience with that, and I know back years ago we talked about that before in the rec committee, is having a program like that, and it's great. And I know other programs in the area, in the county, they have a CIT program, and there's a nominal fee, which might be even something you could look into. So it's not necessarily free, so it's not, but just something, a nominal, like.
So they still were charged a nominal fee to come to the camp, but.
Right, to help cover any incidental costs of them being there. And so it's not a babysitter, free-for-all.
Right.
And, but I think that would be great. I mean, my daughter has done that through Rutland Rec, and she loved it. And I know other ones, I think that's great, and this community could use that, because that age range just really needs something to do, so they're just not sitting home playing on their phone on social media.
Lots of parents are worried about, like, they're going to be home by themselves, they get on the internet, they start to get into trouble because they're bored and they don't have anything to do, and they don't have any real oversight. So this way, they still have some oversight, but they're not necessarily, campers, but you give them a little bit of responsibility.
Right.
They're, you know, you can't leave them alone with the kids, but you certainly can have them helping you do a lot of the things that we all have to do. And then just hanging out with the kids and being mentors for the younger kids.
It's huge.
It's huge, yes.
It builds their confidence and starts making them realize my behavior has a matter on other people. It'd be great for our community to have that type of program.
You could have on the application form, placing interested in junior counselor program. You could set limits of, if you have so many staff, then you're going to limit yourself to so many junior counselors, because you want so many that it becomes unmanageable.
My thought would be to start with like maybe 2 to 4.
Yep.
And just go from there. And like I said, it's usually just gonna be kids who have been coming to the camp and have just aged out and
Right.
just don't wanna come and hang out. And as a matter of fact, I can think of one young lady right now off the top of my head who last year was her last year, and I think she would be interested.
And you could use their prior experiences of camp, well, you've got to know of them as campers, as potential junior counselors, because not everybody who applies for their program might be.
It would have to be an application process. We would have to, you know, go through them and decide and, you know.
Yeah.
And have it really be something more formal, but I would really like to try to get that implemented.
And I think especially with the problem that we have, having future workers, especially lifeguards,
Yes.
this would be a great way to help
And
develop our own.
And not even just for our own camp, just even for the restaurants and stores in the area. So, you know, even if they decide not to go that way, or there's not enough room, they have now a little bit more experience to work
Yep.
when they get old enough.
And they have somebody who can say how they are as an employee
Right.
and can give them a reference and a recommendation.
They have something, resume, you know.
Yep.
Yes,
Are out looking for.
yes.
So I will do a little more research and come back in a couple of weeks. Does that sound good? And let you know what I found and what we're going to plan to do, and I'll bring an application. I know Jen and I, when Jen was with me, developed an application already, so I think I have one on file somewhere I can pull up and.
Would there be,
Will a 2-week period give you enough time into your first, to actually get this whole thing running?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because it'll go out about the same, I'm gonna have the flyer ready, by the way, Sandy, hopefully by tomorrow, so that maybe we can put something in the newsletter that's going on Wednesday, the town newsletter, so I'll try to get it to you, so maybe we can get something.
And maybe
if not, maybe at least get the dates in there.
Maybe when you get back to us, Lisa, you can have maybe a more specific written out on the financials of how much money there is for the rec program, what the estimated costs are going to be, with kind of a detailed description of like what's what.
Oh, would you like that?
What does everybody think? Would you like to see that? I mean, I'd like to see
I
where.
mean, we pretty much stay within the budgeted amount of
Right,
money.
exactly.
So, I mean, we don't, you know, I work at not overbuying or whatever.
Okay.
Oh, but that said, actually glad you said that, because I also noticed that we budgeted a little less this year for field trips.
Yes.
So that has me a little worried, because last year we didn't do very many because of COVID. And getting buses is not easy. So I'm hoping to maybe kind of beef it up a little
Okay.
bit. So.
I think with field trips, we'd be interested in knowing, like, say you go to White's Pool, like, was that just for a swimming experience? Because we're looking at the kids can swim at Elfin Lake.
Right.
Just to have.
Right, so when we've gone to the pool, which we only do once a summer, because it just gives them a little, but we always incorporate that with another field trip to Rutland. So, because the buses are so expensive,
Exactly.
that's what the major cost of the field trip is. Like, we go to Rutland, it costs us $400 to bring
And
all the
so
kids to Rutland.
if you're adding in other Rutland things to that trip,
Yeah, that's
we'd
what we
like
do.
to see that, because then it's not like, wow, they spent $400 to go to Rutland.
Sure.
And we could have just stayed at Elfin Lake. I mean, you know, playing a little devil's advocate there. If we're saying, oh, well, they went to White's Pool, but they also did this and this and this, they really got their bang for their buck, then it's like, yeah.
Definitely.
All said, though, you need to stick to the budget.
Oh, yeah, no, but I'm saying, like, I'm concerned that it's down to 1,500 this year. We had beefed it up to 2,000 a couple of years ago because it wasn't really enough, because the busing is so expensive. So Now it's back down, so I'm hoping that maybe next year we'll be able to bring it back up again. I just don't know why. I did not attend the meeting because I just assumed I didn't have anything to ask more for. I just expected that I would get the same amount that I usually get. So I'm confused about why the budget went down this year when last year we didn't even hardly have a camp. So if we didn't spend as much money, it was just because we had decreased the amount of weeks. So,
Well, one of the issues for, some of the board isn't here yet, but one of the issues was there was $1,000 for a field trip to Rutland. That really caused a lot of heartburn for the people that were on the board at the
I don't
time.
think that we ever spent $1,000 to go to Rutland.
One of the purchase orders said
I think there
field
must
trip
have
to
been a
Rutland,
mistake.
and
I
it was
can
$1,000.
research that. I don't believe that there is any way we spent $1,000 going to Rutland. We probably spent $400 for the bus, and then we probably went to Wonder Feet, and I know we spent money there, but there was nowhere near even as much as the bus cost. It may have been a couple $100 to go to Wonder Feet. And then the money for the pool, which was, I think they charged us $5 a person, and there was like 15 kids, so there's no way that we went to Rutland for $1,000.
Okay, but
I'm very,
the purchase
very
order that
frugal,
we
let me
saw,
tell you.
the purchase order that we saw, the pay order that we saw said field trip to Rutland, $1,000. So that caused a lot of concern for the board.
Yeah, there must have been, there's no way that that was right. I will research that and I'll get back to you, but I'm very frugal about the way I spend money. I make sure that we get the biggest bang for our buck. We always incorporate things like we've gone to the Queechee Gorge, and we'll go there and we'll hike down into the gorge, and then we'll stop at Vin's on the way back. I mean, we always make sure that whatever we do, we incorporate as much as possible. We even go to White Rocks and do trips there, and then shuttle the kids back and forth in personal vehicles, just so that we save money on busing. Like, we try to find all different kinds of ways to make sure that we're getting as much adventure for the kids without, again, having to spend money. And it's mostly the buses, the cost. There's very little things that we do, or very few things that we do that cost very much money. It's just that the bus usually costs $400 or $500 just to go, couple hours.
And you need those draws to have people sign up for your camp.
Right.
That's right.
Because if you don't have those little perks and field trips, kids won't come here. They will choose to go to, and people will spend money in a different community if we don't have the reason why to go to our camp. And I know you have kids from outside of Wallingford too that attend.
Yes, we do. Yeah, a lot of Danby kids, Tinmouth kids, so.
And I just want to note, you do, from the time that I've been on the board, whenever you presented something, you have always stayed within your budget, so.
Oh, yeah.
That's noted. But having a description of the things that you do just helps us see, oh, look at all that's been done.
Absolutely. I can bring you what we spent last year,
Great.
or maybe I'll bring you, not last year, but the year before.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Because that would be more accurate because you were able to do, well, but the year before was 2020, so
yeah, I guess
the year before that.
Right.
it's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, we haven't been spending any money, Bruce. So I'll come back in a couple of weeks and I will bring information about the program, the junior counselor program, and I'll get you some detailed
Thank you.
information about our field trips.
Thank you.
Alrighty, thanks. Erica, planning chair overview on the cannabis article approved at town meeting.
Yes.
One thing real quick on that. That article was as it was petitioned. We took the wording right from the petition onto the article.
Oh, I understand that, and unfortunately, it didn't do what everybody thought it did. And I have been in touch with Rutland Regional Planning Commission just to verify everything. Basically, the big problem is vote that everyone voted yes or no on did not specify the fact that we currently have zoning regulations that explicitly prohibit a cannabis dispensary. It's on page 20 of our current regs. And if I can read it, so everybody knows, it says use is not permitted. The following uses are not permitted within the town of Wallingford or any of its zoning districts: high tanning or curried plants, crematoriums, asphalt manufacturing or processing plants, rendering plants, manufacturing or processing of fertilizer, bone, rubber, paper, ammonia, chlorine, explosives, marijuana dispensaries, methadone clinic, and manufacturing or refining of petroleum or gas. They are specifically, so because it specifically is named in here, the town would have to vote on amending the current zoning regulations, and it did not. What it really did was just vote to opt into the Vermont program. Now, cross-referencing that, on page 5 of the 12 pages of the guidance, it does say cannabis establishments are subject to the same zoning rules and municipal ordinances that apply to any businesses. So what needs to happen is that the town has got to have either a special election or wait until August, where there is an item on the ballot that specifically says amend the current zoning regulations to allow a cannabis dispensary with permits to operate. It's a very small item, and I know it's kind of a little finicky, but it is a big technicality.
I have a question, Erica.
Ma'am.
We're in the process of revamping our zoning regulations, correct? The process has not concluded yet?
No.
When is the process going to conclude, and is there wiggle room to get a rewrite on the new zoning regulations?
Well, if the current zoning regulations are amended, it automatically is amended in the new because the new is in draft form.
Oh.
So it's not.
So if
we don't have to do, if the town says, hey, fine, take it out of the current, then it's automatically out of the future.
Okay.
So that's a good thing about that.
Okay.
But because the town.
But we still need to have the vote in August. That would take care of the situation.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the town voted on any changes to current zoning and town plan must be by Australian ballot. Otherwise,
Gotcha.
this body could take care of it, but
Gotcha.
that's not the way
Okay,
we
thank
operate.
you.
But what about the line saying that you cannot make laws that are specifically against cannabis dispensaries or producers?
This was in effect before it happened.
Right.
So it does not supersede, even though it's new regulations, it does not supersede upstanding rules, okay?
I asked that specific question, and because it was already into effect, there isn't anything we can do.
And
I mean, except change our regulations to say, yes, it's acceptable.
And then one last, like, technical thing is that marijuana deals specifically with plants that have above 0.03%. Cannabis is CBD and everything that has below that 0.3%. So technically, we could have a CBD dispensary in town because it is not marijuana. Just
Technically, but you're.
no, I know. I'm just curious. I want to make sure because we have that. That's something that I feel also, even if it doesn't get voted for that should be clarified.
It would have to be clarified. My suggestion is, and I'm not going to say if the select board decides to have a vote, because you have no choice. You have to have a vote to amend the current zoning.
Okay.
My suggestion would be to have a public hearing, maybe several weeks ahead of time, to work out the details. I know this came up at the town meeting, and I'm sorry, but I had to take care of family matters, otherwise I would have been online. But the petition went through really without, in my opinion, the realization of what the consequences would be. And these are the consequences right now.
Okay.
Also keep in mind, and this is just I'm just giving you information, and I've heard people, people have asked, well, we can just tax it and get more revenue from it, and it's from nobody on this board. And the comment is no, because according to, again, the guide, you can't specifically tax, we cannot levy a sales tax on a cannabis dispensary. We'd have to levy it on all of the local businesses. A cannabis dispensary cannot be treated any different than any local business. And so...
Well, I thought it was specifically that it was
No, it's...
alcohol, and they have to be deemed the same as alcohol.
Yeah.
So if we have a alcohol
If we already
tax.
have it, but we don't.
Okay,
That's my whole point.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
And I think there are still legislation that's going through right now
Yes.
dealing with this issue. Things are coming up as of the
Everything.
immediate.
Yes. Everything is in flux.
Everything's in flux right now. I just heard some things on dispensaries as well today. That's new
Right.
information, so.
Correct, but the one thing that I will point out, because I've already received inquiries
Right.
from several areas concerning, well, can we get a license? Can we apply for a license and everything? There is on page 7 of the guide, agricultural products provisions, it's F, buffer zone.
Yes.
Under the board rules, a retail cannabis establishment cannot operate in any location where it be in violation of a drug-free school zone to sell a regulated drug. This means cannabis retailers cannot operate if a store would be on a property that abuts a school property, and if the retail operations would occur within 500 feet of the school property. So, quite frankly, that eliminates a good portion
Of the village.
the village.
Yes.
Correct.
Yep.
Because people have said, well, maybe down on Florence Avenue, the daycare center's right there. And even though it's not school property, I don't think the state of Vermont would look favorably upon it being there. It can't be on the west side of 7 between the light and Florence.
Right.
Because the school property is right there, and it is within 500 feet.
Yes.
Our property abuts to the school property, and even across the street, it's still within the 500 feet limit. So it would have to really be. Michelle Kenny has called me because somebody inquired at the block. She's within 500 feet. Yeah. So it would be a very small area where it would be, provided, of course, the zoning regulations are amended. So that was the discussion for the planning commission and their conclusion. And as I said, I spoke to the Rutland Regional Planning Commission, who actually sent me a copy of this. And I believe you all have soft copies. I did take it upon myself to print out all of the statutes because I hate trying to go back and forth. So if you don't have a complete copy of it, do let me know. I'll be happy to send you the soft. If it's referenced, it's in the back, in the appendix with a table of contents.
Okay, thank you.
Erica?
Yeah.
And is there any regulations about a distance, about with a recovery area, recovery centers? Just checking, so I could see where that could, you wouldn't want one next to like Serenity House.
But that would be within 500 feet most likely because it's,
The school, but I was just.
Yeah,
giving an
yeah.
example, you know,
Yeah.
just was curious if that even extended
Right.
more.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I would have to check very, very carefully, but Serenity House, I believe, is outside of neighborhood commercial.
True.
Because to be honest with you, the only place really that right now a cannabis dispensary could go would have to be in the neighborhood commercial, which is along the Route 7 corridor.
And then you have Maple Leaf too, so.
Excuse me?
I don't even,
And then, yes, there's Maple Tree.
yeah.
So,
but then what about East or South Wallingford?
excuse me?
East or south?
South Wallingford on Route
Only in
7.
their neighborhood commercial districts, and there aren't any.
Yeah.
What about, where, the Sparkle Barn area?
That's agricultural.
Okay,
Which they could have a grow operation or a packaging operation, but they could not have a
gotcha.
sale. Okay,
As it stands right now, yes.
okay.
They would have to go before the Development Review Board, and the Development Review Board provided, and I will state it again, the zoning is amended. If it's not amended, it doesn't matter. So if it is amended and somebody wants to have an operation out there where the Sparkle Barn is, for example, they would have to apply, just like any other business, to the Development Review Board, who has the authorization to approve or disapprove a variance in an agricultural area.
Okay.
So they would have to make the decision if it fit the requirements.
Okay.
And the same thing, by the way, where Family Dollar and everything, that happens to be an industrial zone.
Because of the plant.
Yeah, and same rules and regulations apply. So basically, anybody, off the top of my head, thinking about this, the neighborhood commercial, unless the amendment goes through, the neighborhood commercial would be the only place that would be able to issue a permit without going through the Development Review Board, and I'm not even sure that they wouldn't have to do that anyway, depending on signage, because that's another whole different bailiwick.
Okay.
So, any other questions I can help with? She says in a very small voice. All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. The local emergency management plan. I would just note that Jim had emailed Sandy indicating that he would be open to assisting on any updating that needed to be done. Sandy has indicated that basically she's already updated everything. Looking through it, I don't see anything that needs to be corrected other than my cell phone, and she's already done that. So, I don't think there's really anything we need to do. I think we do have to sign off. Is that just myself, or is that one? Yeah. Basically, I guess I'm just the one that signs off on it, if that's the approval of the board.
Okay.
Thank you, Erica.
Yes, thank you, Eric.
I'll make a motion that Nelson signs off on the updated plan.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And I believe we have some applicants for the Elfin Lake. Young Mr. Kenny has applied for lifeguard.
Yeah, nice.
To be honest, I'm not really, I was reading Charlotte's application here for, she lists sometimes that she's not going to be available, and she lists on here that she has a job Sunday, Monday, Thursday, and second Friday at 5 p.m. Is that her starting time?
Probably so, yeah, so sometimes, yeah.
Would she be available up to
I'm assuming
a portion of
she's
that?
saying she'd be able to do like a morning or an afternoon shift. or-
Because in the past, a concession job has been in 2 shifts, 2
Yeah,
4-hour
11
shifts.
to 3, 3, 7.
Yes. So she'd be available for the morning
For
shift.
the morning shift? Okay.
Sounds like an ambitious young lady.
She wants to make that money. Do we know, is Ethan licensed as a lifeguard yet?
She's looking at getting him certified.
Okay.
I sent Michelle the information about the Bennington one,
Oh, great.
because at the time, that was the only firm dates I had, but Rutland Rec will have one too. We've had several kids take it through Bennington, and they like the course.
And Marcos, I know, also does
Marcos, yeah, he's
does
harder to
lifeguard
get
certification.
sometimes, but yeah, he does it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there an online one anymore, Sandy? Did some people do it, or did they all, or was it the Bennington
I
one?
think they all did the Bennington one, because
Okay.
Okay.
they've got to do like a physical swimming and all that.
I would think so, the other will be cutting it pretty close.
And then we got the new one that just came in today
From Emma?
from.
Wait, Emma, Lema?
Is Aaliyah coming back?
No.
Oh, that's too bad.
I know.
Does Emma want to be a lifeguard?
I think concessions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say concession.
And do we have any lifeguards coming back yet?
We only, Aaliyah was.
We only had Aaliyah last year.
Right. I didn't mean coming back. I mean, do we have any lifeguards applying other than Ethan?
Just Ethan. And what we did last year is we had, because we only had one lifeguard, we just had Aaliyah Monday through Friday.
Yes.
So it was like consistent, so everybody knew.
And she
that
was
lifeguard
wonderful about
week.
coming, and I had her come early a couple of times when it was gonna be a really hot day at the lake, so the kids could go in a little earlier, because that's the only drawback with being at the lake, is that they're really ready to go swimming by 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yes,
She's not interested.
yes.
Does anybody have any further questions of any of these?
I can't remember, how many concession workers do we like to have?
We usually hire 4,
Okay.
because with so many days off and, I mean,
And I know we'd like to have at least 2 lifeguards.
we'd
If
like
it's
to.
possible.
Yeah, especially, he's listed a couple, a stretch there, I think 9 days that he wants
9
off.
days that he's not available,
Yeah.
yes.
I
Yep.
think the offer of employment, it's got to be conditional upon him getting the certification too.
Well, there's that.
I mean, we can't have somebody sitting in there
There's
as a
that.
lifeguard when they're not certified as a lifeguard.
Legally, they can't. And also, so we have, how long are the shifts for lifeguards usually then?
We do noon to 5.
Okay, so we're underneath the need for them to have a break
Yeah.
by labor board, okay. Because that would be something too, is like if we only could have one, we'd have to figure out some way of giving them a break if we wanted to have it more than
Yeah,
that.
and what we've told them in the past, they're welcome to, at any point in the day, blow their whistle, have everybody come out, take a, whatever, 15-minute, 30-minute break or whatever
Right.
they need.
And post the saying there's no lifeguard on duty and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and they've done that before, and, when
That
it's really
has
hot,
happened in
or,
the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially on the really hot days.
Yes.
everybody understands. I mean, people who are there with their parents, the parents are gonna let them swim anyway, but all of our kids come in and wait and all of that, so.
Yeah.
So basically, we need, what, 2 more yet?
Yeah, I think if we hire Charlotte, Emma, and Annika, if we could hire at least one more concession, and then it'd be really nice if we could get one more lifeguard.
I'll scour the fields again.
Yeah, you said you thought you knew somebody that might be interested.
Yeah.
I think you did.
Remember.
Looking at the person who might know some teenagers.
I'll have Tori put some feelers out. Fortunately, she's already employed.
Right. Well, my son has already expressed interest in becoming a lifeguard, but he's
Well,
too young.
Laurie son would love to, and he's a big kid.
Keep him
He'd be a
son.
great
Laurie-
lifeguard.
Max would be great.
Yeah,
Who's
so.
this?
Laurie's son, Max.
Yes.
He's old enough.
No, he's not.
Yes, he-
He's only 14.
Oh, that's right, he's a late summer birthday.
Yeah.
Because Tori was gonna do the lifeguard and do it, but then she got offered another position first, before anything was posted, so.
Okay.
Sorry.
I think the person I was thinking of is the one that has applied.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Ethan? Okay.
We have 3 applications. Do we want to notify them that they're going to be acceptable for the summer? Okay. NEMRC Contract. Going through this, what is a tablet activation module or activities module? Apparently, whatever it is, it was the reason that the cost of the contract changed.
It's, John, Tiffany said it allows them to take the tablet out in the field, use the data out in the field, and then return the data to NEMRC afterwards. That $300 fee, is that what you're talking about? Yeah. The program that allows them to take the data out in the field and then...
We just need to sign off on the,
Yeah, we just need, this is just an annual update of our, assessor contract.
so we're good with that.
By consensus.
By consensus, everybody's good with, okay. The ARPA committee appointment, as you're all aware, Mr. Korchak vacated. Actually, I believe he notified it that he didn't want the position. Sandy and Peg have both recommended that we follow their suggestion for Mr. Gray Wicker. I believe it was his wife that had applied earlier and found that she had a conflict and couldn't take the seat. I don't know him personally, but he sounds like he's a reasonable person. Is everybody in agreement of appointing him, or any other suggestions?
He's actually already been attending some of their ARPA meetings too.
She's already involved.
On this, we probably should have a vote. If somebody wants to
I'll
make
make
a
a motion to appoint
You
Ray
did.
Wicker.
And a second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Elfin Lake Pass for the MSJ donation request. Lisa Donahue requested the town donate to the Elfin Lake season pass and/or a summer camp week for an online auction to benefit Mount St. Joseph Academy. There is more, and there was a letter enclosed. I'm not going to go into the letter. Personally, I don't think we're a town government. My past experience with MSJ is that they are a Catholic private school.
Yeah.
And I think anything, regardless of how minor it may be, is probably in violation of the generally accepted church and state ruling.
Yeah.
I would not be in favor of contributing to it. If they want to come to me personally and ask for a donation.
I actually had the same question on that, if this was even allowable, or if we had done anything like this in the past, because we're a public town,
You know,
and making a donation to a private institution, I don't think we can do that.
I think even if it's permissible, it's treading on kind of a soft spot.
It's icky.
And I'm sure that there are people in town that send their children there.
Yes.
And they're undoubtedly going to think that we're not doing right by them. But I really don't want to see a headlined article in the paper that says we've crossed that line.
And I think also it's not, if, might be a different thing, it might be a bit of we could feel okay with the trespass in that if it was a town-based organization,
Yes.
but the fact that it's in Rutland also kind of pushes it out there, that like, this is not benefiting us necessarily, except that we're giving up free.
I agree. And once you start with one,
Yeah,
where does it
exactly,
stop?
yeah.
And also, there's no past precedent for this either. So this would be
Yeah.
setting a new precedent. And I think we have to be careful about doing that.
Right, because then you'll have everybody that has a fundraiser want one.
That's one.
Exactly.
That was my concern.
Yeah.
From all over.
Right.
And unless
I have a
it's,
basket raffle in July, no. I mean, you never know how many you'll get requests for.
The Recreation Committee mission statement. I believe I'm reading it here now. Our mission is to serve the needs of the community through quality facilities and parks, and by offering lifelong learning through recreational and cultural programs. I was submitted by Kathy and Bruce, I believe.
And then there's some guidelines, bylaws down below.
There are quite a few guidelines here. I'm not going to go through reading them all.
Right, and I think what we're looking for is what people think of this and how it needs to be modified, or,
I think you guys did quite a little bit of thought on it. I'm not allowed to make the motion on it, but personally, my feeling is it pretty well covers the statement.
or what do other people think?
Does anybody have any suggestions other than that, or would they like to make a motion?
I think the only thing, and it says it right here, the Stone Meadow lying under the purview of the Conservation Committee. So would but that would not include Elfin Lake then, even though they're abutting? There'd be two separate entities, right?
Okay.
That's I'm just curious about that. That's the only thing I can think of.
I think in the past, Elfin Lake has been in the purview of the Recreation Committee, correct?
Yes.
So do we need to reword this, do you think?
I wonder just to make sure, because there's always been, or it seems like there's been issues of like, what's the Conservation Committee versus the Recreation Committee? So if we can say Conservation Committee always does stuff at Stone Meadow, then we can say, oh, Elfin is under us because that would be the third facility, because if we need something done with
The only thing I would say, and maybe I don't know if we need to put anything on this, is that when you're looking at things like with the erosion at the lake or things,
right.
and you might want Conservation Committee to help with, say, writing a grant or some sort of support under that purview.
But I guess then what the actual like concession stand, that building,
Right, no, the
That's-
concession stand and everything is under the rec committee.
yeah, so just making sure that part's clear, because conservation makes sense that the environmental factors that could impact the usage of the whole area could be under
So
conservation.
do we need to add that,
Well, because we only say two facilities, right?
okay, right,
Wasn't there, if I can interject, wasn't there talk about combining the Recreation Committee and the Conservation Committee? Did you guys talk about that at some point?
The Conservation Committee did not want,
I thought that might be the case when I heard that recommended. I was listening to it on a,
pretty much the Conservation Committee does not want to combine.
Yeah.
and it makes sense. I do think they're kind of two separate things,
Yes.
even though they cross paths a lot.
Right.
But I think part of the issue with Recreation Committee in the past is that they've had nothing to work with. They haven't had a mission statement, and they haven't had guidelines or bylaws. So, whatever anybody else has to say on this.
I'm probably going to hear about this. I think we requested a mission statement and guidelines for the rec committee that we didn't request of the conservation committee. I think when this came about with the board that I was on, there was some genuine dissension with some of the things that were brought forward through the Recreation Committee. And I think a lot of our purpose in asking for a clear statement of the Recreation Committee was more to, I don't want to say other than perhaps appease any of the future problems that might arise by potential cross-interference of the two committees arising. I think that was basically what we're trying to avoid, that one committee would not step on the other committee's toes. I think that's probably a lot of the reason I feel that I think they've pretty well covered that in the mission statement and the guidelines. I think it's fairly clear that they, you know, the committee that's created, assuming we create the committee,
Right.
will understand a lot better what we're kind of looking for from them.
My thought is that when somebody wants to come onto the committee, we hand them one of these and say, this is the mission statement, these are the guidelines, read them, and if you can agree with them, and agree to follow them, you're welcome to be on the committee. If you've got an issue with them, you don't belong on the committee.
Yeah, or you have to get on and then make a petition to us and say, think this needs to
That
get
would
changed.
possibly be an alternative to around it.
And do we have these for each of our, so like the planning commission and the conservation
No,
and the
In the past,
energy?
we've not done.
Yeah,
Maybe that's something.
I can't say that this board, or any board that I've served on, has had to face recreating a committee. It's really a whole new experience to us.
yeah.
I know to Bruce and I that, having been on other committees or other boards, that we haven't really faced this problem before. I think the board came up with a pretty clear idea of how to deal with possibly future committees, or the problems that have occurred in the past.
Yeah.
From when I was researching, if there were mission statements, bylaws in other towns, many other towns have mission statements and guidelines for at least recreation, if not for all their other committees in their town. And I think it just makes sense that we should establish these for the committees in town so that no future problems on any committees happen, so that everybody has a clear understanding of
Right.
what is expected, and if there's something that they want to modify and change, they can always petition to
Right.
bring it to, before the select board to do so. But I think the more clear and transparent you make everything, the better everybody, the better respect we're showing to our volunteers, and our volunteers can more fill the needs of the town if there's that understanding already established.
Right, it just makes it clear so that way, because as time goes, things change and mutation does occur but at least there's a guideline and then it can get addressed and changed formally as needed. So if everybody all the other groups had that, and it's kind of, you know, they should all be clear and concise.
The only thing I can
If
think of.
one has them, they all should.
Yeah. The only thing I think of on this that might be beneficial to the other committees as well is, do we want to spell out if there are possible, like if they need a different funding source, if they need to go look for a grant, that they can do the proposed research and then bring it to the select board? Because I think it finds well working within the constraints of the budget, but if there's a special project, could they do the research and then bring it to us? Because I think that was some of the contention with the past committee, where they weren't sure whether or not they should be doing the research, or they did the research and then it wasn't. That's my understanding. I might be incorrect
And I
there.
know Conservation Committee does apply for grants.
Yeah.
And then brings them to us for approval.
Final approval.
Right, we have a grant policy.
Okay.
So, yeah, so they'll just follow the grant policy, they have to get permission.
So yeah, so then,
So
so
there
like
is a
a
grant.
line just saying that any grants must follow the established grant policy.
So put that in this.
Yeah.
Okay, with that adjustment, are we ready to make a motion, or?
I'll make a motion to accept with the amendments that we just talked about, accept the mission statement and bylaws.
The grant statement.
Yes.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Select board comments.
Do we need to, we have also the possible appointments.
There's
To the-
possible appointments to the Recreation Committee?
Is that appropriate still now?
Yes,
Okay.
it's on the agenda for next, yes. Do
We have, what, 4? Oh, yeah, we have 4 persons. I think I mentioned them at the last meeting, but they are Sumio C. Sale
Sale.
and Daniel Elkhorn, Shannon Pitlick, and Morgan Over. To be honest, other than what individuals on the board know of these people, I don't think anybody recommended it, and I think we're in kind of a unique situation here again that we really don't have a committee currently.
Right, but we have a mission statement now.
We have a
and
mission
we've got-
statement that you can read, yeah.
Right, so we do have people who are, have put in interest. Do we want to give them a copy of the mission statement and then see if they still have the interest?
And would it be, since we say 5, put something back out, seeing if there's anybody in the community now that it's more formally, that we have a committee, and then make more of a decision on the who?
Yeah.
Since we do have one out-of-towner,
Yes, exactly.
Problem with that.
Dan's a great guy, but would be setting a precedent on having somebody that does not live in our community, speaking for our community.
So maybe we want to go ahead and get this out, see if there's other people that now with this in place might be interested in also applying for the board, and seeing if, like you said, if we can get people who live in the town, more people in the town who might be interested.
What if we post that as we normally would a position, and also mail a copy of that to the 4
Yes.
individuals to see if there
Yeah.
is an interest?
Yes.
Yeah. And would we want to add like a little signature, like I understand these and then I'm officially applying
Yes.
onto the,
I think that's a good idea
Mission
to
statement.
say, after looking at this, just have a little line.
and just like what you were saying, Bruce, just to verify
all
that
In
they know
your
this.
application, please verify.
Yeah,
I
That you read
understand.
and-
and agree
read,
with the
understand,
mission
and
statement
agree.
and guidelines of the Recreation Committee.
Okay, select board comments and concerns.
Were we bringing up anything on sidewalks this
I
meeting?
think that it was in other business, I think.
Oh, it's in other business, okay, that's kind of,
I would say the ARPA committee is looking into that along with all the others.
Okay.
I know I've mentioned to Bruce and Peg, she was in the office the other day, and, well, we had quite a long talk about ARPA funding,
Yeah,
and they're really trying to get a better idea of what the final rule is really saying onto it. But I think that they're seriously looking at using sidewalks as one of the
okay.
funding projects.
and Sandy, has any state grants come out recently on sidewalks?
Well, this one in June,
Oh, okay.
this will be the next big one.
And are we gonna apply for that one?
Yeah, that's why Devin Nearing's gonna meet with you and.
Yeah, that's what that meeting is. Oh, excellent,
Yeah,
yes.
so Devin will meet with you and Bill Brooks and Peg. So,
Excellent.
and he can help us with the grant, no cost. He can write up all the numbers and everything, so, yeah.
Wow,
A number of towns are using Rutland Regional for these infrastructure projects.
excellent. That sounds great.
I think at last count there are 5 that are applying
Okay. And then I had, my neighbor Bert Jones brought up I know we had talked about, when I was on planning commission a few years ago, there was talk about the bus, stop and having like a shelter at the corner. Has that ever come back up?
Not that I remember.
Okay, because he was just talking about how, he was, especially this winter, he noticed a lot of people were just kind of waiting outside in the snow or in the cold. And if there's anything, I thought I remember something that we did. It's something that we talked about when we were doing the town plan about where a bus structure could go. But I was curious if that had been talked about in it forever.
That's a good idea.
Would that be
There,
town thing?
the immediate thing comes to my mind on that. It's something ARPA would have to investigate whether the funds could be used for that. Because basically, you're looking at things that are directly related to either the COVID-19 or that will advance economics in the town. And I can't think of what all the actual wording is.
Well, I think a lot of
But
it,
I think what you're also looking at there is it falls back to Rutland with the gazebo. Is that kind of a created,
I think the difference in this and creating a bus shelter is you're actually helping everybody in town
Yeah.
who might need to use public transportation. And I think that has a public good, you could say there's public good for a gazebo, but I think a bus shelter is more for the general welfare and safety of those who are using public transportation within Wallingford, and that it could help a lot of the residents in town. So I think there's a different public good factor in here.
I think there is, but I think they need to define it before they go further with it.
Okay. So he was willing to work on it, so I'll have him, when we find out more, or I'll have him talk to Peg or then just say.
I can't imagine that kind of a shelter would be real expensive.
No, I think that the toughest thing I remember at the planning commission was finding out where we could actually put it. Because the logical space would be like in front of the Boy on the Boot, but because of that weird sloping, that sidewalk, it kind of makes things a little weird.
Yes.
Unless you put it, I guess you could put it on the other side of the library, like on that border. But we think about the idea of like trying to promote more people coming to our town, and one of those things that we do not have is because we're usually far from many of the jobs in town would be bus service that goes into town. So promoting that is a possibility, that if you don't have a car, don't have the means for a car, you can still live here. And
It's getting into a number of things, but the
also
Joyce's committee, and she's with the Historical Society, has long pushed for a kiosk or that type of a facility that would give basically a directory to downtown.
Right.
How to get to the Rotary Building.
And that's something I'm kind of working on with Joyce for the Historical Society website and with the Rotary, of doing a kind of architectural monuments in town, basically, of places of note. So that would be a sign and then a little code that you would look at on your phone, and you'd be able to go from place to place. But I know that she was talking about a kiosk, like even in the garage behind the block, right?
Yeah.
But like a bus shelter could have an easy map.
That building there, I actually contacted Michelle Kenny.
Yeah.
And she was going to either get in touch with Joyce or have Joyce get in touch with her as to that particular building that you're in reference to.
Right. But yeah, I think that would be something that even I wonder if there's grants from the bus, like from the transit service itself.
Be worth looking into.
Yeah. So I'll have I'll have, because I don't think he was ready to look into it yet, but I'll have him talk to Peg and say that this is something that may be looking for ARPA funds, if we want to go that way first.
That pretty much just leaves the other business. We have the road erosion inventory, that's an annual thing. A lot of that has to do with the municipal roads general work grant, or it's a permit. We do apply for that every year. Do we have to sign off on that again, or is it?
No,
No, okay.
They're in the works, they should need
It's
to
already-
do segments.
Okay. And we are in pretty good shape on the segment.
No, we are.
I believe you already scheduled the free clinic. And Mr. Hosley has signed the agreement. He did let us know that this was going to be the last year that he would do roadside mowing. And I think we actually asked him for, what, 80 hours, wasn't it?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Lucky to lock that in before the gas prices went up.
John McClellan has been doing the flags for the last, I don't know, at least 5 years that I can remember. There's one of the neighbors here, Nick Flanders, indicated a plow would damage his mailbox. It is a long-standing, as I said here, a policy of the town that we do not pay for damaged mailboxes. I don't believe there's any compensation back from the actual postal service either. Unfortunately, that's one of the hazards of having a mailbox in the winter. I know there are people out there that are not going to like that. The Hartsville Solar got its permit. And the rest is for the sidewalks and the shed upgrades. We've talked a little bit about that when we were on the grader. It is in the works. Hopefully the ARPA committee is going to come back with some good ideas on that. Yeah. Other than that, I think we've come to the end. Do we have a motion, a second?
I make a motion to adjourn for the evening.
Second?
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Aye.